My name's Adam Townsend, and I run the storehouse, Aylesbury Vineyard Storehouse Food Bank. And we've obviously seen a huge demand, and with the dry goods that we normally hand out, there hasn't been enough when we first hit COVID. So having the extra fresh stuff to bulk out the food parcels is really great. And I mean, I think the other issue that we've always had is making sure that our clients are trying to eat healthier as well. So the fresh produce just seems to tick all the boxes for us.
Are we going in the side, Chris, or in the back?
Yeah, I'm going to go around
the back.
Come around the end there.
What do you see generally in terms of health needs?
So I mean, generally, anyone who is suffering in some way in poverty usually has bad health associations associated with that as well. So any extra healthy food is good for them, definitely.
It just provides more support to help them out of their situation at that time.
And you know, not all of them will take the fresh, so we do ask them whether they know what it is, if they are able to cook with it. And I mean, some of the produce that's come through, we've had struggled to identify because we're not gardeners. So
some of the more unusual donations.
Yes, but we've got a couple of clients that really look forward to having the rhubarb through. The marrows, we had tons of marrows donated. And we were having to give out recipes to the clients and tell them what they had to do with them, but we managed to get rid of all of the marrows, and I don't think we had to throw any away, which was fantastic.
Great. And you're chef on site because you also make meals here, don't
you?
Do. So did they use the marrows as well?
Yeah, we used the marrows for bases for curries, just endless recipes that I didn't know even existed to use marrows for.
Everything.
And then all the fresh herbs. The chef was over the moon, and she kind of hangs around waiting for the van to come back with all the fresh produce now, so she gets first pick of it for the kitchen.
And what are some of the reactions you've had from the food bank clients with the fresh food? What have been some of the notable things that you remember from?
I think, looking back, when we first started doing it, firstly it was a sense of community and help and everyone pulling together for this pandemic. And then secondly, it actually inspired a lot of our clients. So there was one of our clients, and she actually had an allotment but hadn't been using it. So it inspired her to go back. So she's now actually growing her own veg again.
Oh, that's great.
And she sends pictures every now and then, or messages just to say how she's getting on.
Oh, so that's fantastic to hear. And then not all food banks obviously take fresh food,
No.
and there are sets of different things that you need to consider. How difficult do you think it is to deal with fresh food as a food bank manager?
It is harder, obviously, the food hygiene side of things. So all of our volunteers we have to do basic food hygiene training with, and then we've got some of the staff have got higher levels of food hygiene. We will then need fridges to keep stuff in, freezers, sorry. So it is slightly harder, but I think the benefits definitely outweigh that.
Just when you invest in a bit of the infrastructure, then
Yeah, absolutely.
and you weigh everything in here as well,
We do,
don't you? So
which is a massive chore, but it's really good. So I mean, obviously, we send through the figures to you, so we know how much to produce. And then recently we've done the harvest festivals from the schools, local churches. So yeah,
it's a real motivator, I think, to the people that are donating, and I know the people at the allotments, when they've known how much is coming through, it's really, really helped them.
It is, it is good.
So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for everything you do here.
Thank you.
Hi Susanna. So tell me what's involved in your coordinator role.
Well, it's not onerous at all. On a Sunday night, all the allotmenteers at the various allotments donate their produce, put it in crates, and then I bring the crate from my own allotment over to the one where it's collected from on the Monday morning. And obviously at this time of year when it's darker, the cut-off time is earlier, but in the summer it's quite late, before dusk. And it all gets protected from animals or anybody else really overnight. And then, as I say, it's collected by the charity that we're donating it to on the first thing on a Monday morning, and they know where they can come and collect it. And as I said earlier, we've apparently donated over a ton of vegetables and fruit this summer, which has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
We take photographs. Actually, another thing, we take photographs of it every week so we can see what we've donated, and also it's weighed when it arrives at the charity, so that's how we've been able to come to this figure of a ton of veg.
And we've been able to tell people a bit, haven't we, like every few weeks, what total we're up to, and I think that's helped people to get an idea.
Motivating.
Helped to get an idea, but never did we think we'd be able to get a ton, I don't think, from just a couple of allotments working together.
And we're reassured that actually all of that's been used. It's really easy to have gluts of things, as everybody knows who's had a million courgettes at any one time of the summer. And I think that, there's a lot of things that jeopardise your things on your allotment, pests and animals and the weather and lack of water, all sorts of things. And so you tend to overgrow in the hope that you'll actually get what you want, and so it's very easy to have an excess, and this is just a brilliant way of donating one's excess to a good cause, because often when you've got excess, other people have got excess too, and so you can't give it to friends or other allotmenteers, and so this charity is the ideal way of using up excess fruit and veg which might otherwise go to waste.
That's great. And what kind of produce have you been able to donate this year yourself?
Well, today I've got some squash, and I've got a patty pan squash and some beetroot, and
that's lovely.
It varies from week to week, obviously, as the season goes on, but I think courgettes are probably the thing that we saw most of this summer. Everybody always has
many.
lots of courgettes, and in fact I'm a book publisher and I'm about to publish a book called 50 Things to Do with Courgettes.
Oh really? Oh, that'll interest
Because it
the
is such a
feedback.
problem. My mum was a keen gardener, my granddad was a keen gardener. He actually had a cafe and he used to grow all his own vegetables for his cafe.
Oh wow.
And so I think it's just in my genes. So I've always been keen on both veg and flower gardening. But I actually have a very small garden in the grounds of my passive house, which I built 2 years ago. And so I took on allotments because there just wasn't any potential to grow vegetables in my own garden. And so I suppose I'm quite, I really like the idea of, eating what I've grown, what I know has gone into it. When you buy things from the shops, you actually never know quite what's been applied to the growing of the produce, and when you grow it yourself, you know exactly what's gone onto it, and so it feels healthier, it feels more ecologically sound. It's grown on your doorstep, there's no air miles involved. In my case, about a quarter of a mile. Everyone with allotments could adopt the same principle and the same scheme in their own locality. That would be fantastic.
And you're my neighbour at one of our allotments, and you've kindly just given me a whole load of raspberry canes, and I think it's that type of thing, like sharing between people to try and make the food go further and enable people to be able to grow cheaply.
Basic gardeners are actually quite they're close to the earth, and I think they're quite generous spirited people, and I think that that's a sharing proposition is something that sort of just most normal gardeners feel naturally. You have excess, you give it away. You have seedlings, you give them away. It's just an obvious thing to do, really. Particularly on allotments where you have neighbours that aren't just house neighbours, they're actually literally gardening neighbours, and they're right, hugger-mugger with you. So it's very easy to ask and donate and ask for favours or give favours or whatever.
And what's unusual, I think, for Grow to Give this time is that there's been three allotments really working together in this town, and perhaps you haven't had a chance to work together on something before. So that's obviously introduced you to new people, and you've come up today with some of your produce from your allotment. Shall we have a look what's in the baskets, and you can put it in, and
we've got some lovely parsnips. We've got a very knobbly parsnip here. A kiddie would love that, make a good joke of that one. And we've got some pumpkins and some leeks.
Some leftover from Halloween.
Some kale and some cooking apples, which has been a massive glut this year because we had no frost at the crucial time this year.
Really,
so
it's a good year.
All the hard fruits has been fantastic year, pears and apples.
Yeah.
So later this morning this will all go off to the vineyard and hopefully be made into some really interesting dishes.
To think that it goes to a good cause and people who might appreciate it.
Every week we get a big crate from you, don't we? Almost, it feels like.
Well, it has to be seasonal. Produce, the Italian kale, obviously, very, very useful.
Lovely.
Apples, I don't know what they are, they're probably all eaters. And obviously the celery this time of year, might be past salad times, we'll use those in soups.
Lovely.
And those look like potatoes. They might be pink fir apple or something similar. Might be annual pink fir apple. I suppose you start with perhaps a few peas, you move on to summer cabbage. Hopefully we keep it going as long as possible.
And John, you're one of the best growers on here, aren't you? So we've we think you're being modest. So we do thank you very much for everything you've given to Grow to Give this season. So thanks.